I just want to say thank you everyone for being here. Today is the virtual public kickoff meeting, and Tara and I are going to have a short presentation. We'll have a couple interactive questions for you, and then we'll have a time for Q&A as well. So yeah, we'll just go ahead and get into it. I'm going to share my screen. All right. All right, so as I said, today is our virtual public kickoff meeting. Thanks for being here. We have had a few public meetings before this, but this will be our last official kind of a formal, I guess, public kickoff meeting. We'll be doing some different strategies moving forward. But today we're going to be looking at the Transitions 2045 Metropolitan Transportation Plan update. And let me make sure I can scroll through. There we go. All right, so today we'll just have a brief presentation, time for discussion and questions at the end, or you know, it's pretty informal, I think, with a smaller group, and so just feel free to jump in as well. We'll have an opportunity to provide comment for the plan update, and we'll also have our survey link that we can put in the chat. You can take it at your own convenience. I think a lot of people here maybe have already done that, so thanks for that. Okay, so the MTP is short for the Metropolitan Transportation Plan. It is our region's long-range transportation plan. So it looks out, has a 20-year horizon. It looks at our transportation needs for the next 20 years. It includes strategies and projects to help the region meet our transportation needs, depending on what that 20-year horizon might look like. And an important detail is just that the MPO does not construct projects, so we are not tasked with the construction process for projects. Couple key things to know. This is just a map of our boundaries. So within the Albuquerque metropolitan planning area, we have Valencia County, Bernalillo County, Sandoval, and a portion of Torrance, and that is essentially our planning boundary. So the projects that are, or the area that the MTP covers essentially is illustrated here. The 2045 MTP will be called Transitions 2045. We had a process with staff and some of our member agencies and committees kind of looking at this name. So we decided on Transitions. We think it reflects sort of the transitional nature of the times we're living in, perhaps in a post-COVID world per se, but yeah, we just think it reflects sort of the times we're living through. And a few more details on the MTP. It's updated every 5 years. So our last MTP was Futures 2040. This will now be Transitions 2045. Looks at projected population and employment growth. So we do have forecasts that look at those factors, and it helps us anticipate future transportation conditions. It includes all modes of transportation, so it is not strictly a single occupancy vehicle plan or anything like that. It looks at pedestrians, it looks at cyclists, it looks at public transportation and vehicles. So it includes all modes. So in order for transportation projects around the region to receive federal funding, which is essentially what the MTP assists with, they must be listed in the MTP. So just above is a quick example of what that might look like. You can see the project description, the type, and the lead agency, and the project costs, which leads me to the project list must be fiscally constrained. So any projects that are within that totally cannot receive more than the expected revenue. And just briefly looking at the collaborative nature of the MTP development, these are some of the agencies that we work with. Perhaps it's hard to say, but might be a complete list. But we work collaboratively with our member agencies in the development of the MTP. So really briefly, let's go into our first question. What I'm going to do here is just stop sharing, and then I'm going to put a link to our Mentimeter exercise in the chat. So please go ahead and click on that, and then I will show the results in real time. So let me just put that in there. Please let me know if you don't get it. Just type in the chat, but it should go to everyone. And I'm going to stop share real quick. Actually, let me do. So we should be seeing a screen that says, what are some things that have changed in our world since 2020, when the last MTP was adopted? And if you go to that link, you can answer those questions and it should pop up.
And if you're having any problems with the link, for any reason, you can also put your responses in the chat if you'd like, and I can put those into Mentimeter for you.
Yeah, that definitely works. And you can also, there's a code at the top that should work as well.
Yeah.
Cool. I see workforce changes, more people outdoors.
Good ones.
From home, energy transition, definitely. Political unrest, definitely. So I got 5 responses. I don't know, is that
Yeah,
everybody?
that might be about right for the number of attendees, non-staff people we have.
Okay.
Yeah, that's.
I'll give it like 30 more seconds if anyone. I don't know if you can enter any additional, but those are definitely good ones. I'll just quickly say, oh, Christopher says also try to include more people on bikes and more people on buses. For
Thank
sure.
you. Or I'll put that in there. People.
So yeah, I'll just kind of say, well, I'll wait till we're done with the exercise. I kind of lead into this with the presentation.
Great. Good ones.
All right. Cool. So those have been collected, and I'm going to go back to the presentation really fast.
There we
All right.
go. Yeah.
So thanks for participating in that. Yeah, so definitely those were some good ones. And what I'll say is that, oh, sorry, briefly, we did this exercise with staff and again some of our other member agencies, stakeholders, and committees, and a lot of what we heard there is definitely in line with that question from the previous times we've asked it. So I definitely think, uh, we're a lot of what's been happening collectively and globally and in the state as well, we're kind of all in the same wavelength with that. So it's interesting to see. I'm gonna turn it over to Tara to talk about the new, like the actual meat of what's gonna be in this update, starting with the proposed goals.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Peach. Yeah, for everyone here today, thanks for being here. Just real quickly, I'm Tara Koch, transportation planner at Mr. MPO. So yeah, as Peach mentioned, we'll get into the goals now for the MTP. So we have a set of proposed goals, and these are based off of the goals from our last MTP. We've done a little bit of wordsmithing, as you can see, with some of the goal names. But the most important addition is we have a new proposed goal, and that's equity. And I'll talk a little bit more about each goal here. We'll walk through those together. So mobility refers to the efficient movement of people and goods throughout the region. And so far we have some draft objectives that we've been developing that support each goal. And just to let you know, in addition, we'll also be developing performance measures for each objective so that we can kind of assess how we're doing toward meeting these goals as a region. So some of these objectives, just to mention, that support mobility is the regional transit, frequent regional transit, preserving and enhancing existing infrastructure. That was kind of a big theme from our last MTP. And also on the bottom, you see there's prioritizing safety for all users of the transportation system. And you'll notice safety is kind of in a lot of the goals under as objectives. So we're also trying to enhance our safety in the region. And you'll see this coming through as in the objectives of the goals. So the next one is active transportation. And this in our plan refers to walking and biking. And we know these are critical modes for people who cannot or choose not to drive. And they provide healthier ways to travel. They're also healthier for our environment. There's lots of good reasons to continue this as a goal. So again, we have our active transportation goal this time around. Some of the objectives that support this will be improving safety for bicyclists and pedestrians, and also building connected networks for these travel modes. And that was a big emphasis from our last MTP, providing these connected networks. And we know that's definitely important also for pedestrians and bicyclists. Then healthy environment, making sure our transportation decisions support a healthy environment and take climate change impacts into consideration. This time around, we're really trying to emphasize climate change some more. So you see that under some of the objectives for this goal. We also have environmental justice considerations found under this goal, just preventing those disproportionate impacts in our low-income communities and communities of color. Economic vitality, making sure our transportation investments support the economic health of the region. Here we see the consideration for freight and goods movement throughout the region as an objective. Also creating vibrant places where people want to be. We know that's good for our economy, making sure the access is good to those places. And here we've brought in housing options, encouraging diverse housing options. And we're also, in addition to safety, we're also trying to look at housing a bit more and integrate the housing planning more into this plan. Equity, and this is the new goal we're proposing that we mentioned, and the language we're using to define this is still kind of a work in progress, but we are wanting this to mean that we're providing the means for people to be able to safely and conveniently get from point A to point B, no matter where they live or how they get there, with a particular emphasis on those areas that have been traditionally underserved. So again, we have the safety consideration under this goal as an objective, developing the safe routes to where people need to get to in their daily lives, We have improving access to outdoor and recreation opportunities. And then you'll also see there's that housing consideration under this goal as well, with increasing access to affordable housing. So as Peach was mentioning, housing and employment growth and looking at those trends is an important part of our MTP development process. The point of this goal is just to show that although we've had decades with a lot of growth in the past, thank you. Oh, thanks. Recently, that growth has really slowed. So in this last decade, especially, the pace of growth has slowed, and now it's very minimal. So it's kind of a new paradigm we're planning in. And with those recent decades, oh, next slide, please, Peach. Sorry. With those recent, with the recent population growth numbers, we've had to make adjustments for our projections for where we think we'll be in the coming years. So as you can see, in around 2012, about 2 MTP cycles ago, we were projecting much more robust growth, and we were expecting our region to be close to about 1.3 million by the year 2040. However, as the growth has slowed, we've changed our projections, and right now we're anticipating our region to be under 1 million by 2040. So that will change, we'll change things a bit this time around. So this is an exercise from our last MTP, a mapping product. This shows where people were living and where jobs were. And then we, as a part of the MTP development, in the horizon year, we look at where we expect those people and jobs to be in future years. So this time around, we'll have new data, new maps that we produced for the base year of 2020 and the horizon year of 2045. Those haven't been developed yet, but they are part of the MTP process. And this exercise and this analysis lets us know where people will be traveling throughout the region. And we'll show you what those products look like on the next one. So again, this hasn't been developed for this MTP yet, but we'll be doing this analysis in the coming months with the base year and the horizon year. But we we have different ways of looking at things. On the left, you can see we will look at observed travel patterns, and then we can also use these inputs for housing and population growth and the current network to look at where we expect to see problem areas in the future. So last time around, you could see the river crossings were really popping out. Last time around, if the river crossings were popping up as problem areas, and we'll see how that will look this time around. Probably expect them to be problematic. And I see a question from Christopher. That's right, our travel demand model does only account for cars. That is correct. And if Nathan, I think Nathan's here, if you want to add anything to that, feel free to jump in, Nathan. Nathan's our travel demand guru.
Hi, and this is a, let's see, question from Christopher. Yeah, our travel demand model is primarily a vehicle model. It's got a transit component, but the transit is on a broader scale. It doesn't route. It's a little less detailed, but how we consider the vehicle travel, we consider it as travel demand. And so the model just provides part of the answer. It provides the anticipated demand. How we serve that demand, whether it's through roadway capacity or other modes, that's the process of project development and through scenario alternatives and such. So even though travel demand models are kind of limited, we are able to make them, provide some good information, origins, destinations, and patterns and things like that. So. Yes. Thanks for the question.
Okay, thanks, Nathan. Hopefully that helps shed some light on that for you, Christopher. All right. And so another product of the MTP, okay, great. Another product of the MTP are a series of maps we also produce that are our long-range transportation system maps. And we have those for our roadway networks, our bikeway networks, and our transit networks. And those are really, we consider those as aspirational networks. They go beyond the horizon year. They're not fiscally constrained, but they do help guide development for those different transportation networks across the region. So they're important for that reason. Our member agencies, like the city of Albuquerque, Bernalillo County, they use these quite a bit in their planning processes, and these can be found in our appendix of our MTP, and these will be updated this time around as well. All right, and back to Peach.
All right, so the MTP looks at safety conditions and includes strategies for improving safety in the region. What's kind of great about this time around is we're also in the middle of our routes app, which is the Regional Transportation Safety Action Plan. And so one of the tools that you can see here is the HVIN, which is the High Fatality and Injury Network, looking at roadways and areas where crashes occur, resulting in injury or fatality. So what we hope to achieve here is, while working on these concurrently, the Safety Action Plan update and the MTP, which has a focus on safety and particularly safety for vulnerable users. The recommendations from the routes app will be woven into the MTP, and that can hopefully assist with projects and strategies that will help increase safety in the region. And Willie Simon, our safety transportation planner and safety specialist, is also here. If there's anything you want to add, go for it. But if you feel like I covered it, then I think I'm good. But all right, cool. Well, I'll move on. All right, so I wanted to move to our next Mentimeter exercise. And so let me just do what I did again really quick. All right, so I'm going to post another link. And this should be to the second question. So this one's getting at some themes and issues that we feel should be addressed in the Transitions 2045 MTP update. So this can be more specific to the region. Climate change crisis, yes. Absolutely, yeah. Bikes and pedestrians, vulnerable road users.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good one too. I know Denver had a really successful e-bike rebate program
Yeah,
that we
nice.
can look to.
Accessible and affordable, ideally free public transit. There was a recent, and you know, we have a lot of people from T4B here, so huge win on that front, so that's great. Mobility for people with disabilities, yeah. I believe Sundan and some of the some transit public transit options for people with disabilities was also made free or reduced rate or something. So oh, interesting. Hmm. Oh yeah, the project on the Central. That's a good example for visually impaired.
And Peach and others, this is Christopher from T4B. You know, one of the things that we hear a lot about for people with disabilities is the disconnect between their access to housing and
Right.
transportation, right? So like they're always in this quandary of finding a place to live that is accessible for them,
Right.
And then finding the transportation that's accessible to that particular housing that's accessible. And so it's like this the holy grail almost of making sure, like, especially for people that are in wheelchairs, as a really prime example too,
Yeah.
of how to make sure that we're, you know, not creating, you know, somebody should told a story about, or told me the story of like finding this great apartment, but then the reality of like the nearest bus stop to that wasn't like they had the way that they had to get to and from that bus stop made
Right.
it so challenging for that. And they ended up not moving into that housing because they knew it was going to be a barrier every day
Right.
to get from their housing to the bus stop. That should have not been as much of a barrier because it was set up for cars.
Right.
Mm.
No, and that's a really good point, considering just that, I mean, we all make sure, you know, depending on where we live and how we get to where we need to go and the type of transportation options available to us, the link between land use and transportation is incredibly important for everyone, but like you said, that's a great example of, you know, those are far more significant barriers for someone that may have a disability. So very good point. Yeah, so it's exciting. I hope that project on Central is very, yeah, I mean, I'm assuming it will be successful, but it will be a great sort of primer, I hope, for additional facilities like that. These are all great. Thank you very much. These are very thoughtful.
Yeah, great list. Thank you for your feedback.
All right. So I think yeah, that's good. I think we'll continue. We have a little bit of presentation left, but then we'll kind of go to our Q&A session if we want. So all right. So thank you for that. Just to kind of give you an idea of what we've been sort of seeing emerge from that question from the previous times we've done it with staff and others, is I think there was actually a few in here that I thought were things I haven't heard before, which is really, really great. Like a lot of those responses were very thoughtful and considerate, coming from a place of, you know, being informed, especially about transportation. But something we've kind of see the key themes and issues in the MTP emerging are listed here. So of course, housing shortages and lack of affordability, the changing economy, travel behavior, I saw something in there about electrical vehicle infrastructure. That's definitely something that's come up. And then of course, safety, equity, and climate change. So yeah, everyone kind of hit it on the head there. So just to give you an idea of where we're at, in this very sort of simplified graphic, we are here at the very sort of initial kickoff meetings, fall 2023. So from here, we expect to take a lot of the feedback we've gathered, do some analysis on it, have a draft plan development, and then that will go through its process, and then we'll have public review in spring 2025, and anticipated plan adoption in spring 2025. So things are, yeah, it's coming quick. It'll come quicker than you expect. And so yeah, that's essentially all we've got, but I just want to follow up with some additional ways that you can provide input and follow along with the plan update, and how some of the feedback that we've gathered will be incorporated. So again, like I said, we do have our MetroQuest survey. We have one for the MTP update as well as the routes app update. And I will put that in the chat. I know a lot of folks have. Oh, thanks, Tara.
Yeah.
A lot of folks have already taken it here, but spread the word about it if you think there's anyone that's interested. You can also fill out comment forms or send comments to this email address. If the sign-up sheet is not pertinent to today, so we're not in a public meeting, but you can add your name if you would like to be added to our email list or newsletter. And of course, our website is always great. And we also have social media. And with that, I would just like to say thank you again, and open it up for questions. We can kind of just have a Q&A if there's any questions about the plan update or about anything. So with that, we'll stand for questions.
And I'm pulling up the routes app survey link. I'll include that in the chat as well. If anyone would like to take that survey too, we'd really appreciate that. Let's see. Oh, whoops. Oh, sorry, let me resend the MTP one. I sent it just to one person on accident.
So yeah, so like I said too, we've got yeah, so can you please go back to the slide with the timeline? Yeah, absolutely. Was there anything particularly, Chris, you wanted to discuss? Oh, okay.
And I just want to add on to this that we will be doing, we'll be accepting comments and feedback this whole time, not just during select times, but we'll
Right.
be accepting feedback at any point in time. And then also we're always available to go to other groups or organizations and present to them on the plan, or for if they have a specific topic or issue they're more interested in, we can also tailor it to that need. So just
Absolutely.
feel free to reach out to us. We're always happy to get out. And finally, also for any community events that you might have where you have, where there's an opportunity for us to be there and to share information, or we're also willing to go out to those events as well.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah,
absolutely. Does anyone have any questions? And, just open it up for anyone. Feel free to jump in.
Maybe I'll ask a question.
Yes, please.
Yeah, of the group, because it's been on my mind. We do get questions about the rather flat forecast.
Right.
Particularly after we were seeing such robust growth prior to the recession. And then anecdotally, we hear stories about businesses, plans for growth. And I guess I'm wondering, in your observations, if anybody can kind of contribute to that discussion. Do you see growth happening, or do you see people leaving more than migrating into the region? I just wonder what your experience has been. It's a hard question. I don't know if anyone's speaking. You're all muted,
Oh,
which is
true.
fine. If nobody has anything to, that's fine. I just.
But if
Also,
you
yeah,
do- oh,
add it
good.
to the
Yes.
chat if you'd like.
James raised his hand, so go ahead, James. And if we need to unmute you, I'll try to do that. Okay. Allow to talk. There you go. Okay. Hopefully that worked. See if are you able to talk
Can you
now,
hear me?
James? There you
Yes.
go. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Hit unmute. Great. Thank you. My comment. My experience is with growth on the west side that there is not coordinated encouragement, let's call it, because I know it can't be required. Coordination of regional backbone utilities associated with roadway infrastructure. I mean, Albuquerque has complete streets, but it only talks about what's above ground. Complete streets should consider what's below ground at a regional level. And, Albuquerque does not have, readily available land that can be developed due to the lack of some of the regional infrastructure. And that when site planning companies come in, they have, 3 years before something can be ready, they go somewhere else. So the MRMPO should at least encourage this type of coordination with the city and county.
So you're specifically,
track
it
job.
sounds like referring to water and sewer utilities to be available to allow growth to happen a little bit more readily.
Yeah, regional backbone again, and probably PNM and potentially even, gas company coordination. And I'm specifically talking about Northwest Albuquerque is what's spurring my comments. That's where roads are being expanded and,
Thank you.
taking a long time. Okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
That's a really great comment, and I've heard member agencies of ours, ABQ Ride and a few others, kind of address certain parcels of land that people are like, well, why aren't things being built here? And that has come up quite a bit. And another one is with data requirements, like if you're going to be building buildings that may have require internet access, like fiber optics are incredibly expensive to put in as well. But all that, all of the things below ground play a role for sure.
Yeah, it wouldn't cost very much to put in conduits when they're blasting and putting in, expanding Paseo and Unser, and then the fiber optics could just be pulled later.
Right.
How are utilities going to get across these roads? Because typically a water or sewer lines on one side or the other. Those need to be crossings. So it just makes more financial sense overall.
Mhm.
And I believe that the city could act as a petitioner with the water authority and get reimbursed via their pro rata provisions for infrastructure. Plus the city, no private developer, only the city can also have the added benefit of accelerated gross receipts and property taxes by these types of investments.
Hi, James, this is Nathan. I would like to add that the local agencies, our member agencies, the city, county, and stuff, they typically do this coordination on the project level, stuff we don't necessarily see since we're not as owners of the system. But this is common practice within the agencies. But your comment is well noted.
Yep, I'm aware of that, and as you're probably aware, I'm also pushing them to change those habits. So.
Great. All right, so let's see. Chris has his hand raised, and I also have a comment in the chat from Parker. I can just read that really fast and then open it up to Chris. It says, were there recent LGBTQ and abortion sanctuary laws considered in projections of growth? I know a ton of folks moving here from Texas, fleeing the unfriendly political climate. Yeah, that's an interesting consideration. I guess I'll hand that to Kendra. I don't know if that's something we can necessarily model, but
yeah, the forecast is based on historical data. So if there is a departure from that has happened over the past couple of years, that's not considered in the growth projections. So good comment.
Yeah. Anecdotally though, that is definitely something that I hear quite often. So I'm sure there are people moving here because of that. Chris.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Peach and others. I just wanted to lift up, I really appreciate the inclusion of an equity goal and thinking about, especially most impacted communities and thinking about, in Albuquerque, we don't often, I'm going to lift up two important numbers that we learned about in the FTA survey of bus riders in 2022, last year. And that is, it's close to 75% of bus riders have a household income of less than 35,000. And so this is a group of people who electric cars and even cars in general are a hard thing to access. So public transit becomes such an important part, and not only public transit, but then the walking mobility for people with disabilities and biking to get that last mile or where the bus, can't take you. So again, 75% of bus riders, $35,000 or less in income, and 60% of bus riders don't have a driver's license. So just really thinking about what it means, and it's not a very large number of folks who are transit dependent. We know that in Albuquerque, but it feels like such an important number of really considering how are we thinking of our transportation needs, where I think about this all the time, like our aging population of people who won't maybe be able to drive, but should still have access to senior centers and swimming pools and all the things that they should have access to as older and are some of our ancestors are retired folks who deserve still to have healthy, vibrant lives. And then the other piece around making sure that we're looking at the decades, if not centuries, of historic inequity of infrastructure, right? So I think about one quick example. A couple years ago, T4B did a really cool photo story project around bus stops. And what we found in the ID in the international district and Westgate neighborhoods is that most bus stops are just a sign without benches, without streetlights, without they're not safe. And a lot of the bus stops in Westgate, for example, don't even have sidewalks. So it becomes a really dangerous place to catch the bus in Westgate or even parts of the South Valley. So just lifting up that equity as an issue becomes a really important way to also address injuries, fatalities, right? And really thinking about how we make our neighborhoods more walkable in a lot of ways. And I put this in my input today and on the survey. How do we make walkable communities that we we're really addressing some of these infrastructure issues in really big planning ways, both short and long term. So I'm excited for the equity piece to be added.
Us too, yeah. Thank you for that.
Thanks.
James, you didn't have another question, did you? I just see that your hand is still raised.
No, sorry, I'll lower it.
Okay, no, I just wanted to check. Thank you.
But there was another comment in the chat. Let's see.
Oh, yeah. That also is a good point. It says there are many more people moving to Texas for economic vitality reasons that are moving away. Just look at Texas growth versus New Mexico or MPO region, which has significantly slowed.
I have a question for James on that, because I know that that's true, but what do you use for a source? We have such a hard time getting current migration information, and that's why we always have that lag in our forecast.
Just my choice sources, I live here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I see everything in growth and stuff. Driving to and from work in the Dallas Morning News, and I also get the Albuquerque Journal online.
Okay, yeah, news, definitely. We get like official migration information from the Census Bureau, which is super helpful, but always there's a lag time. But I know that there are other sources such as like United Vans and other people have, all the data has issues in reliability, but there are more recent things I think that we could look at. So I'm always looking for better sources. Thank you.
But yeah, that is a concern is the job opportunities, a lot of factors, that people may go to a state over for. I mean, Colorado being another. So yeah.
Housing affordability is something that we want to keep our eyes on too. I mean, the whole nation has a housing shortage, but in terms of affordability, when viewed by people outside of the state, we're a lot more affordable than a Denver or a Austin, or even I don't know about Arizona. So it's something to kind of watch,
Right.
because I have heard anecdotally a lot of people just being priced out of their own markets and deciding to either come back home or work remotely from somewhere sunny. So there's lots of cases to be made all in both directions.
Yeah. And I know we only have a few minutes left. I definitely want to hear from anyone else, but I think it's interesting, that people from other states like Texas or California or Colorado see our market as affordable when unfortunately people living here, it's unattainable. So it's kind of one of those things where, yeah, we're getting priced out a bit in our own market, which is unfortunate. But yeah, so it's coming up on the hour. Does anyone have any closing remarks? Any last questions? Okay, seems like no. All right, well, so yeah, really good feedback. Thanks for participating in the meeting today. Yeah, we'll have more opportunities for engagement in the future. Like I said, today was our sort of last of our formal public kickoff meetings, the virtual version. So thanks for coming, and we'll be sure to follow up with results from some of these kickoff meetings. And with that, I think we can go ahead and say goodbye for now.
Yeah, I
Tara,
might just
did you have
ask.
anything?
No, that was all great. Just real quickly before everyone leaves, if you wouldn't mind if you didn't sign in the chat, that would be great. And also if you want to put your email in there, it might have been captured from the Zoom, I'm not sure, but if you want to stay in touch with us, we have a contact list that we send out mailings to. So feel free to put your email address in the chat if you'd like us to directly send you messages and stay in touch with you. We don't send out too many emails, but yeah, feel free to do that if you'd like. And thanks so much for
Yes,
being here,
please.
everyone. Thanks for all the great feedback. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tara, I'll just keep it open until if anyone wants to add
Okay, thanks.
their
Good
email.
idea.
Hey Tara, Nathan here.
Yeah.
Obviously, I saw
Hey,
one of the
John.
comments of from the public of asking about the effectiveness of road diets and such.
Yep.
So remember that question I was asking if you guys had started to look at road diets and effects on bike usage and such. So that might be
Oh yeah.
that comment is a kind of an incentive to start start looking at that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we'll take a look at those Mentimeter results and hang on to those. But yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, there were some good
That
ones
was a
today.
good comment, whoever had that.
All right, guys,
cool.
I got to run home and walk the dog. I'll be
Sounds
back
good.
before 2 for
Right.
the MTP video meeting.
Oh, that's right. Okay. All
All
right.
right.
Thanks for being here,
Thanks.
Nathan.
Talk to you in a
Take it
bit.
easy. Bye.
Bye.
All right, cool. I think everyone that wanted to add their email got it in there. So, all right. I'm going to go ahead and end the meeting.
All right.